Big Tuesday show as we look ahead to baseball season as well as a big game inside the NHL.
This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Jack Bond in today for Lee Sterling. And Jack's going to have an NHL play as a couple baseball predictions for the upcoming season. So looking forward to that. Also college basketball as championship week continues. We'll look at the Big Ten tournament tonight. So without further ado, Jack, let's begin in the NHL with an Atlantic Division matchup and a wrong team favorite.
What the fuck?
WTF.
So the Red Wings and Panthers meeting for the second time since Friday. The Panthers ended their road trip with a victory at Detroit back on Friday night. Now the team's meeting in Sunrise tonight. Panthers need a lot of wins and a lot of help to get in the playoffs. Detroit sitting in third in the Atlantic. Panthers favored here at home. So, Lee, what do you like? Lee, see, I don't even know what I'm so used to saying Lee. It just pops right in. Jack, what do you like with the Panthers and the Red Wings tonight?
Yeah, I like counting the Panthers out. I think they're done for the year. Unfortunately, it's been an incredible run, but with all the injuries and all the turnover they've had, I think this season's over. And when you get into March and April hockey, one of the things you really have to key in on is teams' motivations. It's just like the NBA. When you're down in the 14, 15, 16 range in your conference and you don't have much to compete for the rest of the year, where can you find spots where a team might have a little bit of motivation left and where might they be just done? And I think this is a perfect spot to pick on the Panthers. We've done it quite a bit with our clients over the last several weeks. They are coming off of 4 road games in 7 days right out of the Olympic break. They haven't been very successful. Yes, they did beat Detroit the other night, but this is a quick revenge spot for a Red Wings team that's still competing, not only for a playoff positioning, but also for the Atlantic Division with Buffalo and Tampa. They're just 5 points back of the division lead with the same amount of games remaining. Now, on the Florida side, yes, Alexander Barkov could return tonight, and Dylan Larkin is likely out for the Detroit Red Wings. But even if Barkov returns, he's not going to be 100%. He's probably going to have limited ice time. He's probably going to have limited mobility. And you can't imagine that the Panthers are going to line him up against the Red Wings' top lines. So he's joining a team that's out of the playoffs. And this is obviously not really an arena down in Sunrise that still sells out and brings much atmosphere to these games when this team's not competitive. Right off of a road trip, there's definitely going to be a lull in the Panthers' play, at least early in this game, with them being out of the race and having their first road game in quite some time. It's a quick revenge spot for the Red Wings off that 7-day road trip. Still no Seth Jones and now likely no Brad Marchand tonight for Florida. I'll take a shot on the underdog here. Give me the Detroit Red Wings plus 110 on the money line. The wrong team is favored.
All right, and we'll see if Detroit keeps it up. I mean, they're a team you've kind of wondered if they're ever going to fall off, and they haven't yet. And that top of the Atlantic Division, the Tampa Bay has struggled. Buffalo's been unbelievable the last few months, and you wonder what that order is going to be when it all is said and done, coming up in just about a month or so when the playoffs begin. So now let's look at college basketball. Very busy day and night as we get the big tournament starting today. You have the Big 12 starting, the Big 10, the ACC, and we will start in Chicago with the Big 10 tournament and our college basketball hidden gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
So, yeah, it's an ugly matchup here. Northwestern faces Penn State at United Center in Chicago. And this shows you how long this tournament is. This is the first round, then you have the second round, then the third round before you even get to, the good teams playing. So, Penn State is getting 6.5 against Northwestern. We're going to take the points of the Nittany Lions here. So, Northwestern beat Penn State the first meeting, 94-73. And that was a game, Penn State, the game prior, lost a close one at Ohio State. And they had covered. They had made a late comeback to cover in that one, and then just fell apart in the second half against Northwestern. They were down just 5 at the half to the Wildcats, and then Northwestern opened it up in the second half. So here's Northwestern's last 5 games. They're 3-2. They beat Maryland by 4, beat Indiana by 4, beat Oregon by 1, lost to Purdue by 4, and lost in the final seconds to Minnesota by 1. So a lot of close games for Northwestern of late. And even though Penn State was 3-17 in the Big Ten this season, you still, nobody wants to end on a loss. Nobody wants to end on a bad note. But at the same time, they were blown out the last time against Northwestern. I think that they want to play a little better against them. They're coming off 2 blowout losses the last 2 games. And Northwestern's had so many close calls the last 2 weeks or so with all these games with wins and losses. Let's take the points with Penn State here against Northwestern in the second first-round game tonight in Chicago. That will be our college basketball hidden gem. Any thoughts, Jack, on that or no?
I like it. I like it. Mid-March is when things pick up. When you're a team like Northwestern, who's usually not in a lot of close games, whether it's basketball or football, and you finally find yourself in a stretch of close games that still don't really go your way, it can be demoralizing, especially for some college kids. So I think we can take advantage tonight.
Yeah, and let's see. Look, there's a ton of games, and you have a couple championship games. You also have the WCC tonight. Gonzaga is their final WCC tournament game. They're going to the Pac-12 next year, playing Santa Clara tonight. Santa Clara knocked off St. Mary's yesterday, so you didn't get round 3 between Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So we'll see if Santa Clara can knock out Gonzaga, even though Gonzaga will go to the tournament regardless of the result tonight. But still, that'll be their final game in the WCC. Coming up, we will take a look at Major League Baseball. There's a lot of baseball going on at the World Baseball Classic. We're going to look at a couple team predictions coming up as far as a division winner and a win total for the upcoming season. So Jack is going to have both of those coming up. You are listening to the Tuesday edition of Locked On Bets. Let's talk now about FanDuel and college basketball. It is rolling along with all of these tournaments. It's nonstop, big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. It's really easy. You are in control of this, that you are the one that picks the teams, all right? So if you can find maybe a rivalry game, if you find something in a smaller conference, you want to go to the big conference, whatever you want, you could put them all together and you could make your parlay. Spreads, totals, player props, it's all there on FanDuel. So many choices you have. And then apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. So this is the perfect week to do it with all of these games. So many choices you have. So it depends on which way you want to go. Safe, bold, doesn't matter. It's all up to you. And you have the opportunity here to make some money with this parlay. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. We continue Locked On Bets here on a Tuesday. Kevin Rogers and Jack Bond in for Lee Sterling today. And we have a couple of baseball plays, not exhibition games, but looking at some season predictions for win total we'll get to. But first now, division winner, and it's time for Bet a Little, Win a Lot.
They say you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So bet a little, win a lot.
Jack, will begin in the American League Central, and a team that you're keeping an eye on, the Kansas City Royals, and to see what they can do in this division. It was a great ending last year where Cleveland and Detroit went back and forth. Cleveland came all the way back. So the Royals, you are looking at them to win the division. Why?
Yeah, well, maybe the worst division in baseball, at least the maybe the least relevant. What I often do when the offseason is starting to come to a conclusion and we're getting players, pitchers and catchers reporting is I like to go to FanGraphs and I like to go to Baseball Reference. And on FanGraphs, you can check their projected standings for the year. Those are typically pretty reliable. And then in Baseball Reference, what I like to do is check two major stats from the year prior: a team's record against teams who are above 500 and a team's record in one-run games. Now, the Kansas City Royals meet the criteria for a team that should improve from their record last year based on their one-run games. and their record against teams above 500. The rest of the AL Central, I don't know so much about them. Now, Fangraphs has projected standings of the Detroit Tigers at 87 wins, winning the AL Central, and the Royals in second at 82 wins. But I think that's a bit off. Now, the Royals didn't do anything very flashy this offseason. They added Isaac Collins and Lane Thomas to the lineup. These are more contact hitters. They had one of the worst batting averages as a team in Major League Baseball last year. So I think these can be some low risk, high reward additions to the batting lineup. The bullpen itself, the bullpen and the starting pitching was great. The starting pitching was 7th in baseball in team ERA last year. And then as far as the relievers go, they added Matt Strom, who we'll talk about a little bit later, Alex Lang, and Nick Mears to a reliever group that was already really solid. You've seen several of their relievers showing out so far in the World Baseball Classic. Now, this was a bang average team last year. They weren't anything special. They should have been a little bit better than they were by their Pythagorean win-loss record. But they did have an expectation of competing this year. They have Jack Caglione, hopefully taking a bigger role in the professional lineup in the majors this year. They're working on shortening the fence at their park as well to make it a little bit more hitter friendly, which should help him. And then there's another name to keep an eye on, Michael Garcia. He was one of their top prospects last year. He ended up with a top 10, if not top 15 batting average and OPS in all of baseball last year, but he was playing for a Royals team that wasn't really stiff in the playoffs to come September, October, so we didn't hear much about him. Either way, both of those guys, Caglione and Garcia, should be taking on bigger roles with the lineup this year. Now, Cleveland should fall off a bit again this year after their late season surge. I feel like we've been saying that for the last 5 or 6 years about this Guardians team, but Jose Ramirez seems to just be keeping them afloat. But I also look at Detroit, and I wonder how different this team could look come July or August. Can Tarek Skubal get traded by the deadline with his pending free agency approaching? Yes, they signed Framber Valdez, but Reese Olson, who was going to be their 2 or 3 starter this year, is out for the year with shoulder surgery. All of a sudden, if Skubal's gone, and if Reese Olson struggles, you're looking at Jack Flaherty as your number 2 behind Framber, and Framber fell off towards the end of last year as well. So the starting pitching staff for the favorite, I think, is very flawed. The starting lineup for the favorite is very flawed. I don't see Cleveland competing as much as they did last year. You're going to give me the Royals at plus 220 to take the division crown. I'll absolutely take that. Give me the Kansas City Royals at plus 220 to win the AL Central. Bet a little, win a whole lot.
And also, too, Jack, with Cleveland, they just were doing nothing until that crazy run towards the end of the season. So just see if that can keep up again coming up this season. So now we go to the national. Yeah, go ahead.
I will add real quick, too. People said that the Royals had a quiet offseason, and they did in the sense that they didn't sign any big names. Cleveland didn't sign any names. Cleveland's not keeping up with the rest of the pack. Again, Detroit improved quite a bit, but what does it look like when you lose maybe the best overall player, if not the best pitcher in baseball, to presumably the Dodgers or some other competitor this summer?
So now let's go to the National League, and we're going to look at a season win total, and that will be today's lock of the day.
Open it. Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
All right, Jack, the Philadelphia Phillies, bad way to lose last year and have their season end against the Dodgers on that throw home, which, again, a little bit of a rush there, but I guess I don't know who else would have done better in that situation. But what do you think of them this season as far as 89.5 wins?
Well, one thing that immediately jumps to mind when you think about the Phillies in the grand scheme of the NL East is that the Marlins improved a little bit last year, but the Atlanta Braves dropped maybe 30 wins that they probably should have had, or at least were projected to have coming into the season. You would, again, expect the Braves to be an improvement on that last year. This division's not going to be a cakewalk for this Philadelphia Phillies team. I posted on our X account the other day, Paramount MLB, that I think we could see upwards of 4 new division winners this year, and I think the NL East is one of them. You have a Braves team that could absolutely compete with the Phillies if healthy. Now, the Braves have already dealt with a ton of pitching injuries late in this offseason. They might even be dealing with some more, and they just lost a big reliever, Joey Wentz, the other day to a torn ACL after a fluke injury in spring training. But then you look at the New York Mets. all three of these teams are projected around the high 80s in their season win total. In fact, I think the Mets might be at 90.5 now, depending on what book you look at. I'm not the biggest fan of the Mets this year, but I do feel more confident in fading the Phillies. Like I said, this is a better division if both of those two teams can stay healthy and if the Marlins can continue to progress through their rebuild and be effective, especially late in the year like they were last year. When you look at their offseason additions and subtractions, they lost Matt Strahm to the Royals, and he was a pretty good bullpen piece for them, at least a long reliever at times. They lost Nick Castellanos, who's probably a net negative, at least in the field nowadays. But they also lost Ranger Suarez to free agency. And that is a massive loss for a team that really relies on his pitching, his left-handed pitching, to get them across big competitive games and help them in playoff series, help them in big divisional series as well. And really all they did, yes, they added Adolis Garcia, but I think Adolis Garcia and Nick Castellanos are like-for-like additions and subtractions at this point in their careers. And then they re-signed JT Realmuto. Not only re-signing him, but re-signing him to a 3-year deal is just it's shocking to me. He is a below league average catcher. They've known they needed a new catcher in that lineup for a long time now. And Real Muto getting a 3-year deal just doesn't seem productive to me at all. Now they did just re-sign Jesus Luzardo, but again, this isn't a team that added much to stay competitive in the upper echelons of the National League this year. They're going to have to rely on, yes, the number one prospect in baseball, Andrew Painter. They're also going to have to rely on Aaron Nola this year to fill in for Zach Wheeler, who's going to be out until at least late May, if not after that, with some blood clots that he's been dealing with all year. Last year. If we can remember just to last season, though, Aaron Nola was, a below league average pitcher. Jesus Luzardo was below league average at times as well. And Andrew Painter, when he has come up to the big leagues, has struggled quite a bit, especially with his command. So this starting pitching staff all of a sudden looks much more flawed than it did last year. It's something you'd expect the Phillies to have in control really perennially as a contender in the NL East. And all of a sudden their pitching depth and their up top, their elite pitching staff is just not there anymore. I think this is a rebuild a long time coming for this team. And in a more competitive, presumably a healthier division in the NL East, I think we're going to start seeing big major signs of that for the first time in recent memory. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies under 89.5 wins this year. -110, we'll go with a level 1 lock.
And also one other note on the Braves, I think people forget they were 0-7 out of the gate against the Padres and Dodgers, and it kind of sunk their season. It feels like a week in. They never could recover from that and finished 10 games below 500. So we'll see what the Braves do. Walt Weiss, now the manager there in Atlanta. And like you mentioned, the Marlins will be improved. They showed signs of life last year, and the Mets will still be very competitive. And we'll see what Washington even has coming up this season. So, Jack, Paramount Sports, this is a big time now that we're a championship week, Selection Sunday coming up in a few days, and the tournament next week. So what's going on with Paramount Sports and big March Madness?
Yeah, and baseball starting up soon too as well. I'm not one to replace wagers on spring training or really a ton of wagers on the World Baseball Classic. But if that's getting you into the mood for baseball season, we've got our early bird baseball season special for $12.97, and then the baseball season player props are up on the website as well. The early bird special for those, you can get those for $9.97 for the entire season as well. Just check us out at the website, ParamountSports.com, or give us a call at the office, 800-400-9741.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, as well as finding the podcast version on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in Locked On Bets, and you'll be all set. You could find Jack on X, Paramount NHL, also the baseball account as well, Paramount MLB, and he'll have plenty of great information there and winners for NHL and the upcoming Major League Baseball season. And Lee will be rejoining us tomorrow. We appreciate Jack hopping in today. So for Jack Bond, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.